Welcome to the Black Anarchist Podcast, a channel where critical thinkers come to learn and grow. Through pedagogical discussions, we challenge the status quo, conventional narratives, and present raw truth. I'm JC, author of the Black State Project, The Path to Sovereignty, Reparations, and Rebuilding Black Wall Street. And this to let you guys know, I recently created a Substack blog, and I already have two blogs on there. So the blog that I just posted today was about how the right is claiming that the left has a monopoly on political violence, but I give specific examples of the right and their political violence. Um, the article is actually interesting because how the right gets out of taking credit for their political violence is they use the no true Scotsman fallacy. They'll just claim that these people aren't really on the right, and so they get to blame the left because if you're not conservative on all issues, then you're not a true Republican, and so this is how they get around it. So if you guys are interested in that article, it is on Substack. But today we're going to talk about how to get out of jury duty. Now, I talked to you all about how I believe jury duty is slavery. It is forcing people to work without compensation. It is involuntary servitude in violation of the 13th Amendment. Of course, the Supreme Court is going to say that it's not involuntary servitude, it is a civic duty. But civic duties are another form of involuntary servitude. So I don't know how you get around it just by putting the term civic duty on involuntary service. You can call it what you want to call it. It's still involuntary. You're still not getting paid for it, right? Um, that last live stream that I did about jury duty was kind of glitchy, so you guys probably didn't hear it. But they will call you down to the jury room, and unless they actually select you, you don't get compensated for it. So they will pay you $8 for your entire day, right? They may send you home at noon, but they pay you $8 and your parking costs 10. So you lose $2 and you have to take a whole day off work. But just because they overshoot when it comes to calling people for jury duty, they call significantly more people than they actually need, and they know this. Only reason they're able to do this is because the money is not coming out of their pocket. They don't actually have to pay people. I think if they're going to make people serve on juries, they should actually have to give them fair compensation. These attorneys are making money. These judges are making money. The court reporters, everybody is making money except the jury, and I don't think that it's fair. Um, Now I'm going to talk to you all about how to get out of jury duty. I can't tell you all the laws for every state, but I can only tell you about the laws in Texas because I just got summoned. My brother's got summoned. My brother doesn't want to get out of jury duty because he sees this as an opportunity to be a sadistic status. But I'm going to get out of it. I mean, I may have to go up there and argue this in person, that's fine. I'm before I go through the statute, let me just tell you there how many ways are there? You can be excused, you can have it postponed, you can be disqualified, or you can do a motion to quash procedural defects. Um, so let me go back. This is the Texas Government Code, Chapter 62, but every state has some version of this. It's really easy to get the summons as self quash for procedural defects because they almost never comply with the actual statute. I've already highlighted the portions that are relevant, but I'm not even going to try to get mine quashed because I'm trying to get disqualified altogether. They select the jury pool from the voter registration, and I'm going to be unregistering from voting. So I won't be called anymore. But here's how they notify you of jury service by oral summons, I don't know how they do that about oral summons. They would have to have your phone number, and you actually have to answer. If a judge orders you to and summons you directly, delivery of a written summons, the content of an oral or written summons to appear for jury service is sufficient if it includes the time and place for the appearance for the prospective juror or for jury service, the purpose for which is to appear, and a penalty for his failure to appear as required. Now, this is something that they did not include in my jury summons. They did not include the penalty for failure to appear, which makes the entire summons invalid. It's basically just a postcard telling me to go to their website and register and do their questionnaire. It's completely defective. Um, you guys can use the procedural route, but that's only going to get you out of it once. They're still going to continue harassing you. Um, like I said, there's nothing wrong with being actually serving on a jury, but they're never going to select me anyway. So it's a complete waste of time. I'm going to take a whole day off work, and I'm going to get some sent home. So, um, politically, I mean, based on their qualification, I'm not qualified to serve on a jury. Here are the form of the written jury summons. It can be electronic. What else does it say? It just basically tells you the specific requirements. It has to be a certain size and all of that. The questionnaire, they're going to ask about your race, sex, gender, age. The reason why they're asking you is because, well, they're trying to pretend that it's a jury of your peers. It's not. But aside from that, I'm going to get into the peremptory challenges and Batson challenges. The attorneys are the one who select. Well, they don't actually select the jury who's going to serve in the jury, but they do exclude people from the jury. And then from whoever is left over, the judge decides who gets to serve on the jury. A lot of people don't understand how that works. It is the attorneys who are doing that. Um, but that's why they call so many people down, because they know they're going to exclude people. So they want the creme de la creme. They want the best of the best, the people who are going to be most favorable to their side. And of course, they're going to choose status. They're going to choose people who are hardcore status, who um, believe in their system. And both sides are going to do this, by the way. They're never going to choose an anarchist, a libertarian. I mean, I guess you could lie and probably try to get picked, but I don't know how I can do it. If they ask me any questions, it's just going to come out. Um, Unless I just lie straight to their face, and I'm not going to get held in contempt for perjury. Um, Failure to answer a jury summons. In addition to any criminal penalty prescribed by law, a person summoned for jury service who does not comply with the summons as required by law, or who knowingly provides false information. Emphasis on false, right? You can't just make up shit. Um, I don't have to make up shit because my actual bias is well documented. I am an anarchist. Um, and so I'm completely partial. So don't make up shit. You need to actually provide a true justification for why you should be disqualified, or if not, you can use one of their actual statutory excuses for being removed from the jury. Um, but this it has to be true. Um, or who knowingly provides false information and requests for an exemption, or to be excused from jury service is subject to a contempt action punishable by a fine of not less than $100, no more than 1,000. This is what I'm talking about. This is compulsory. This is threat of physical force. This is essentially them forcing you to serve at gunpoint, and I think it's legitimate. And I'm not going to do it. It is what it is. And if you force me to do it, then you're not going to get the outcome that you want. And I did file a motion. I did draft a motion to quash, but I decided to not even do that because I want to be disqualified that they don't contact me ever again. I know the judge isn't going to. The last time that I did it, they have been able to hear. What the judge did is he sent me a false summons to appear in, like, I don't know, like less than a week, and then I go up there, and then the jury clerk, there was no summons. So the judge, there, this is the reason why I don't think it's legitimate. I do see them abusing their authority, specifically against me, maybe because I draw attention to myself that I don't respect them, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I do. This jury county with a population of 2.5 million or more, a removed from a jury panel for cause. That's those are the both their attorney um removed from the jury. Both sides can't prevent for, you know, discriminatory purpose. And then all of that, and then they just deny you a license, and then you're just back to doing blue collar work. Um, so you have to prove that you're not competent, and when it comes to jury service, this is absolutely ridiculous because under common law, the jurors were not just triers of fact; they were actually triers of the law and fact. And so the way that this whole system has changed the jury's responsibilities is complete. I think it's a due process violation. They're constantly having secret conversations with the judge. They're excluding evidence which they say is inadmissible. So you don't get to hear all the facts. You don't get to hear all the evidence. And then you're supposed to make a decision based on the limited information that you were given. And based on these very specific judicial instructions, no, I'm sorry. As an anarchist, I cannot comply with that. So I would be disqualified. Um, general qualifications for jury service. You must be at least eight. What did I just do? Um, I think, okay, here we go. You must be at least 18. You must be a citizen of the United States, a resident of the state and county. Even if you're not a resident of the specific county, you can be a resident of a contiguous county, and they can still summon you. Um, you must be qualified under the Constitution and laws to vote in the county in which the person is to serve. Must be of sound mind and good moral character. What does that mean? You must be able to read, but there is an exception to this. If they can't get enough people, they can actually force you to serve even though you're illiterate. Have not been convicted of a misdemeanor theft. Have not been convicted of a felony. Not under indictment under legal accusations for misdemeanor theft or felony. Have not served as a juror for 6 days during the preceding 3 months. Not disqualified under subsections A3 and 4, which I'm going to get to. Suspension of general qualification. A court may suspend a qualification for jury service that requires a person to be able to read if it appears that the court um, requisite number of jurors cannot be found in the county. Now, disqualification. This is what I'm going to be using. Disqualification for particular juror. A person is disqualified to serve as a petite juror in a particular case if he is a witness in a case, is interested directly or indirectly in the subject matter of the case, is related by consanguinity or affinity within the third degree as determined by Chapter 573 to a party in the case, has a bias or prejudice in favor or against a party in the case. This is the one I'm going to use because I have a strong bias against the state of Texas, so I cannot be an impartial juror in a criminal case. Has served as a petite juror in a former trial of the same case and another case involving the same questions of fact. Exemption. Oh, okay. So this is another one. I guess I didn't mention it. If you're over 75 years old, you have a child under the age of 12 who who you can't leave without adequate supervision. You're a student of a public or private school. I guess that includes college. I don't think that really helped me. It just gave me a postponement when I was in college. Um, Officer of the Senate or House of Representatives. You're the primary caretaker of a person who is unable to take care of himself or herself. Procedures for establishing exemptions. A person who is notified to appear for jury service may establish an exemption from service under Section 62.106 without appearing in person by filing a signed statement of the ground of his exemption with the clerk of court before the date on which he is summoned to appear. A person may also claim an exemption from jury service under Section 62.108 by filing with the sheriff, voter registrar, or district or county clerk of the county of the person's residence a sworn statement that set forth the ground of and claims the exemption. The name of the person who claims an exemption by filing the sworn statement may not be placed in the jury will for the ensuing year. This is what I'm using. A person who files a statement with a clerk of the court, as provided by subsection A, claiming an exemption must be the person. I mean, because the person is 75 years of age or older, may also claim the permanent exemption on the ground authorized by section 62.108. Believe that is it. Yeah. So Here's my sworn statement. Okay. There's no case number because there is no case yet. So I just had to just put my candidate ID number and my pool number. This is an unsworn declaration. You can, under Texas law, you can use an unsworn declaration in lieu of an affidavit because you have to get a notary to notarize an affidavit. So I hereby provide notice that I am disqualified from jury service scheduled for October 4th, 2025, pursuant to Texas Government Code 62.105, subsection 4, which disqualifies any person who has a bias or prejudice in favor of or against a party in this case. For the reasons stated below, I have an inherent bias against the state of Texas as a party in legal proceedings. I hold sincere anarchist philosophical and political beliefs that create mandatory disqualification from serving as an impartial juror. As an anarchist, I maintain fundamental objections to the legitimacy of state authority in criminal prosecutions. That legitimate authority must be based on voluntary consent rather than the threat of physical force. An individual derives fundamentally from its monopoly on the use of force, which I reject as a valid basis for legitimate governance. Under Texas Government Code Section 62.105, subsection 4, a person is disqualified to serve as a petite juror if the person has a bias or prejudice in favor or against a part of the case. My deeply held convictions create inherent bias that would prevent me from objectively evaluating evidence presented by state prosecutors following jury instructions that require application of state criminal law, rendering on evidence and law as instructed by court, participating in good faith process, and accepting the limited role of fact finder when I believe juries should determine both law and fact. My philosophical beliefs create multiple sources of bias that mandate disqualification from jury service. I believe juries historically served as triers of both law and fact under common law, and that modern restrictions on jury authority are illegitimate limitations on this fundamental right. I object to evidentiary rules that withhold information from juries and ex parte communication between judges and attorneys, viewing these as impediments to full informed decision making. I believe mandatory jury service constitutes involuntary servitude in violation of the 13th compensated labor. I by current case law, my sincere bias against any proceedings premised on compelled service. Additionally, the legal profession that reference to court immediately consider our counsel. I had negative personal experiences in prior legal proceedings where I believe I was denied fair treatment by presiding judges. These experiences have created bias against judicial that would prevent me from giving appropriate deference to court instructions and fair conduct during proceedings. I hold a law degree, but have been denied admission to practice law based on free market principles. I believe the state lacks authority to restrict economic competition through occupational licensing, which creates artificial scarcity of legal services and allows price manipulation at the public's expense. I believe the state's occupational licensing requirements are discriminatory and have been used to prevent me from earning a livelihood in the legal profession. The state's denial of my right to practice law has not only prevented me from earning a livelihood, but has driven me to financial ruin. I cannot serve impartially because jury service would require me to provide uncompensated assistance to the same governmental system that has caused me significant personal and financial harm. Serving on a jury would effectively require me to legitimize and assist proceedings conducted by entities I believe have systematically oppressed me. creating an irreconcilable conflict of interest that prevents impartial service. Given that the state has determined I am competent, given that the state has determined I am incompetent to practice law, it is inconsistent to require my service as a juror in legal proceedings. Furthermore, I believe criminal defendants are denied their Sixth Amendment right to counsel of choice by being restricted to representation from licensed bar attorneys. Law licenses did not exist when the Constitution was ratified. As such, the original intent of the word counsel did not mean licensed attorney. My belief that the state is systematically denying criminal defendants their right to counsel of choice would prevent me from fairly evaluating the adequacy of legal representation in any criminal case, as I consider the entire licensing system to be constitutionally invalid. Given these deeply held beliefs about the legitimacy of the legal licensing system, I would engage in jury nullification if compelled to serve, rendering me unfit for impartial jury service. My political philosophy creates an irreconcilable conflict with the fundamental duties of jury service. I cannot, in good conscience, participate in a process that I believe lacks legitimate authority, regardless of the specific facts of the case. These biases are not matters of preference, but constitute mandatory legal disqualification under state law. Additionally, my philosophical beliefs would inevitably emerge during deliberations, as I cannot, in good conscience, limit my analysis to the court's narrow instructions when I view the underlying legal framework as fundamentally illegitimate. This could compromise other jurors' ability to follow the court instructions and potentially necessitate dismissal of the entire panel. Therefore, my disqualification serves not only the legal requirement for impartial jury service, but also protects the integrity of the judicial process itself. For these reasons, I give notice that I am disqualified from jury service. I declare under penalty of perjury that the facts stated in this unsworn declaration are within my personal knowledge and are true and correct. So, I guess we'll see what happens. I know they're not going to like it. They're going to be annoyed, but it is what it is. Like I'm not going to be serving on anybody's jury. I mean, the worst they can do is make me come down there anyway, but they're not going to pick me. And I don't think they would want me around any other jurors because I would taint the entire jury pool. Not because I want to, but because my beliefs are so extreme that just by asking me questions and having the jurors listen to my answers, they're going to start questioning the system too. So they don't want me to serve on a jury. Nobody would ever want me on their jury pool. It's just not going to happen. So, you guys want to get out of jury duty, I would say don't register to vote because that is how, well, at least in Texas, that's how they select the jury pool. But I'm going to be unregistering and I would advise you to do the same. Thank you for listening to the Black Anarchist Podcast. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. The struggle is real and the fight for liberation is far from over. Get sovereign or die trying.